That's really been a feature of the way that we've tended to look at Central Asia, first as a monolithic bloc. I mean, we talk about the Middle East as if it's a monolithic bloc, and I think events of the last several days have shown that indeed there are certain underlying factors that many of the countries have in common, but everything is playing out very differently because of the peculiarities of the different governments and indeed the conditions on the ground. We tended to look at everything in Central Asia through the prism of the development of Caspian energy resources. That was our idea for the great game of competition over access to these. We assumed it was between the United States and Russia. In fact, as we've noticed through recent developments in the last several years, China has become a major player in the energy development of the Caspian, and that wasn't something that was certainly foreseen through the lens of the Great Game, because China was never considered to be much of a player in that region for the last several decades. What we've learned from all of the events of the overthrow, first of all, of President Akayev and then President Bakiyev in Kyrgyzstan, is that things can take rather unexpected turns. And in fact, many of the factors that we saw present in Egypt, Tunisia, and elsewhere over the last several years were also present in Kyrgyzstan. Very high youth unemployment, something of a youth bulge, the inability of the governments in the region to be able to respond to demands. The reason that the governments in Kyrgyzstan fell was because it was the weakest of the governments, the weakest of national identities, and the weakest of an ideology or a grip within the government, as sort of an ethos of governance that other leaders in the region had actually managed to create. Kyrgyzstan was also among the poorest of the poor of countries globally, not just regionally, along with Tajikistan, in the highly impoverished countries index of the World Bank, and was very much like Tajikistan and other countries of the region, dependent on remittances. Issues that was revealed by the developments in Osh this last summer is that not only is the Great Game over, not only is Central Asia not just an appendage of Afghanistan, but it's actually nobody's backyard. This was another of the fixations that we had, that somehow we were all engaged in some kind of tussle for influence. And what the lack of response, immediate response to the events in Osh showed. I mean, eventually we did, on a larger scale, international community, get our act together to do something. But the initial phases of the unraveling violence and the response to it showed that nobody really had a particularly good plan or a policy towards it, neither the Russians, nor the Chinese, nor the United States, nor the European Union. And there's also been a sustained lack of international engagement in Central Asia. At various points, Central Asia has fallen under either NATO's Partnership for Peace. At various points, CENTCOM, the US military, have tried to have various initiatives trying to engage Central Asia on a security basis. The EU, under the German presidency, tried to forge a new policy, but Central Asia doesn't fall under the EU's Eastern Partnership program. It's sort of fallen out of most of the various stovepipes that we like to put countries in. The State Department tried to put it in South Asia, but it doesn't really fit very well along with Bhutan, Nepal, and really Pakistan or India, even in spite of the borders with Afghanistan. It was really the response of civil society groups and of individuals that really made the difference in tamping down the violence. There's been an informal commission set up. There's been some official reports on what happened in the violence, but really it's going to be the groups themselves, as it always has been, in fact, in the Fergana Valley, because a lot of the violence has been at a local level without an overarching national or even international response, who are going to have to do the really hard work of trying to find ways of piecing back these complex communities.